Hi, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Craig.
And hello, Craig. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the paddock. Today we're going to be talking about Valtteri Bottas, current driver for Alfa Romeo. We got his background in karting, his journey on the Formula One grid, and his life off the track. On the episode, we have LeAnne, Hanna, Amy, Drea, and myself, Chelsea, covering Bottas, and I'm going to pass it on to Hanna to start us off.
So, Valtteri Victor Bottas, born on August 28th, 1989. He is a Finnish racing driver currently competing in Formula One Alfa Romeo. Valtteri is a pretty private person, to be honest with you. And as I was learning more about who he is, I really honestly couldn't find much about him before his career actually began. He has previously driven for Mercedes from 2017 to 2021 and Williams from 2013 to 2016. But we will talk about all of that later in more detail. Bottas has currently scored 10 race wins and 67 total podiums, and his permanent racing number is 77.
Yes, for the man racing as number 77, it all started one day when young Valtteri went walking around the store with his grandpa, and they saw an advertisement for a karting event. He ended up somehow, some way attending the karting event, and that's when he got infected with the racing bug. Valtteri dipped his feet into the karting world to begin his racing career, and in 2005, he finished 8th in the Karting World Cup using the same chassis and engine as the winner. So he already kind of got into racing, karting, kind of knew what he was doing, had everything to make it. And we're about to get into how he got his great potential. So with all of that in karting, he got a little bit more experience under his belt and he progressed into single-seater racing in 2007. That year, he raced in Formula Renault UK Winter Series and won 3 out of the 4 races that comprised that season. Valtteri would have been the series winner with how he was racing throughout the year, but because he doesn't have a registered MSA license at the time, he couldn't win the overall championship. So he basically didn't have like a British UK racing license, and that's why he couldn't win it. But he was still able to compete with his Finnish one. It's casual though because this series had cranked out some top-notch drivers, such as Kimi Räikkönen, who put that series on the map, kind of like for everyone to keep an eye on. Paul di Resta and Lewis Hamilton, making it the new series to look and scout out talent for drivers. So even though he didn't win it, he won the races in it, but he did not overall win it. He still got his name out there, and people got to see how well he handled a car as a rookie. The next year, Valtteri competed in the 2008 Formula Renault Euro Cup, a German-based team called Motor Park Academy. So going into the last round of the series, after 14 races, the title was up for grabs between 4 of the drivers. But guess who ended up coming in clutch with that win? Yep, Valtteri Bottas. That year, he also won the Formula Renault Northern European Cup after winning 12 of the races in the series. This accomplishment had been completed by the Red Bull Junior of the Year in 2006, so he had a lot of eyes on him at this point.
Yeah, and so his next step into his career was F3 British and Euro Series with the powerhouse team Art. Bottas did end up failing to win the championship round in his debut season, though, but did take victory in the prestigious F3 Masters race later that year, which they're separate. So you have the Euro Series, the British Series, and then you have like the prestigious overall Master Series at the end for people who don't know. And consistently scored points, which ended up helping him get third in his first season and top rookie of the year in the series overall. His teammate, Jules Bianchi, rest in peace, claimed the title that year and became the 6th consecutive ART driver to do so. With Bottas remaining at the team for 2010, he was expected to follow in the footsteps of Bianchi and prior title winner Jamie Green, Lewis Hamilton, and many more. But to the surprise of many, 2010 produced no more than a repeat result for Bottas as last year. Third in the championship again, and another win in the Masters Series. After the season wrapped, he did end up moving to GP3, where he gained back some momentum in his racing career.
As he moved to the GP3 series, the momentum was a bit slow at the start of the season, but when the ball got rolling, it got rolling. He pretty much was not like the front runner contender of the series until he won the last 4 races of the season and he clinched the championship at the last race. Not as bad as Abu Dhabi, but like same excitement. Get the vibes. When he finished ahead of his teammate. This was his first year in GP3, and after he found his footing and got into the groove of pushing the car to the limit, it was a successful year. All of his accomplishments so far have let him rise in the rankings and gave him options for the future. He was added as a test driver to the Williams Formula One team for the 2011-2012 seasons.
Here we are in 2013. Bottas got called up. He was asked to replace Bruno Senna after his pretty bad qualifying record of 2012. One of Valtteri's most notable quali was at the Canadian GP, where he ended up P3 after Lewis in P2 and Vettel in P1. I'd say Williams made the right choice in having him replace Bruno. Bottas also received his first points at the USGP, where he ended up 8th in that race, which allowed him to finish ahead of his teammate, Pastor Maldonado, in the Drivers' Championship. Pastor was openly not happy about his time in Williams at the moment, and he was claiming that he was being sabotaged that weekend to have a bad quali, claiming someone was messing with his tire pressure. So needless to say, he claimed to not have a problem with being replaced, which is a whole other story because actions speak louder. But I mean, come on, bud. That wasn't the first weekend he out-qualified you. Valtteri kept himself calm and didn't engage in anything from Pastor, which honestly stronger than me because I would have definitely been all kinds of sarcastic and petty in every interview line I was put in. Luckily for Bottas, he got a new teammate in Felipe Massa for the 2014 season. The start of the 2014 season was eventful. In Australia, he started the race in 10th, but then poor Bud had a crash in the beginning of the race, which he luckily recovered from and finished out the race in 6th. But plot twist, podcast favorite Danny Rick was disqualified from the race, moving Valtteri up to 5th. In Austria that season, he got his first podium after qualifying 2nd, but finishing in 3rd behind the feisty boys of the Mercedes era. I would honestly say the best race for him that year, to me, was the British GP, where he started the race in 14th and then got on the podium for P2 thanks to Rosberg's retirement from the race. He got another first in his F1 career. The Belgium GP saw his first fastest lap. Then in Abu Dhabi, Williams had their first double podium since 2005 in Monaco. Again, proving he was the right driver to call up last season for that seat. I mean, he finished in 4th for the Drivers' Championship this year, ahead of Vettel and Alonso. Let's see if this continues for his 2015 season.
So, Bottas had a less effective Williams car at his disposal in the 2015 season compared to the one where he scored half a dozen podium finishes within the last year. His season was compromised from the start with a back injury he picked up in Melbourne. Nonetheless, though, he consistently placed inside the top 6 in the 8 races following his return, with one exception. That was Monaco, where on a difficult weekend for Williams, he qualified 17th. Nonetheless, though, when the opportunity for Williams to beat one of the Ferraris presented itself, Bottas was the driver most likely to capitalize on it. He led it home in Bahrain and his teammate, Kimi Räikkönen, in Spain and Canada. Just like the touch of gray, hair color guy, personality guy, this man is he's super cool, but he's just super mellow. Williams may have found the ideal mix of experience and youthful energy with their new driver pairing, Felipe Massa and Valtteri Bottas. Bottas is entering his 3rd Formula One season, but has already shown the speed of a future champion. He announced his potential with a brilliant qualifying performance on a wet circuit in Gilles Villeneuve at the 2013 Canadian Grand Prix, and followed it up with a 6th podium finish and 4th in the Driver Championship in 2014. However, his dip in the second half of the season was mostly down to some rotten luck. Without, he would have comfortably beaten Raikkonen to the fourth in the driver's standing. He was set for a good result in Hungary when he was hit by Max Verstappen, started third in Belgium, but dropped back when the team put the wrong tires on his car. So they were supposed to put mediums, they ended up putting softs. So that ended up kind of screwing up the race. Was rammed out of third place by Kimi Raikkonen in Russia and had suspension trouble at the US race in Austin. Bottas tends to play things very conservative. As a result, he rarely makes rash errors, but at other times, his approach costs him, especially his start, which are a notable weakness at some of the races. He only bares his teeth when there's a strong result in the offing. And then in Kimi Raikkonen in Mexico on his way to a podium finish. It was harder to identify Bottas as a star of the future this year than it was 12 months ago, but the potential is still there. In 2016 was very disappointing for Williams, whose position as Mercedes' top customer team was taken by Force India. However, Bottas delivered their sole podium finish of the season in Canada. They did not change up the lineup for the 2016 Formula One season, with veteran Felipe Massa once again partnered with rising star Valtteri Bottas, the ideal mix of experience and youth. He also had underlined his potential with a string of consecutive point finishes and outqualified Massa by an emphatic margin. As the season drew to a close, that seemed to be the end of it. Massa was heading to retirement, and Bottas would be teammate to incoming rookie Lance Stroll in 2017. But Nico Rosberg's shock retirement a few days after winning the World Championship changed all that. Now Mercedes needed a driver at a short notice, and Toto Wolff, backing of Bottas, opened the door for him to take one of the most coveted seats in the sport. Just a quick fun fact before we move on to Mercedes, though, was that Valtteri actually broke the track speed record in Baku in 2016 at the Euro GP weekend, where he clocked going a top speed of 378 kilometers per hour, which is about 234 miles in US. The previous record was held by Juan Pablo Montoya, whose top speed record was 372 kilometers per hour, which in US is 231 miles per hour in 2005. No one expected to ever exceed those track limits again, as most sims calculated top speeds to only be between 345 350 kilometers per hour, aka 214 219 miles per hour. So that's pretty cool, because no one still to this day has broken that record. And now on to lovely Mercedes.
Now, as Hanna previously mentioned, Valtteri did have Toto's backing. He actually had previously had Toto as a manager. When Valtteri was announced as coming to Mercedes, Toto stepped away as his manager. Valtteri's announcement of joining Mercedes was launched on January 17th, 2017, and the length of his contract was not disclosed, with Mercedes simply just announcing him as joining the team for 2017. And when he joined the team, he was very open about missing his first win, and that was his first mission with the team. As I mentioned, Valtteri previously had ties to Toto, and Toto stepped down as his management when he joined. During his first race with Mercedes, he finished third behind Sebastian Vettel and his teammate Lewis Hamilton. First year with Mercedes included some major highlights, such as the Chinese Grand Prix, where he spun behind the safety car and fell from 5th to 12th, managed to fight his way back up to 6th place, qualifying on pole ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the Bahrain GP, marking his first career pole position, to winning the Russian Grand Prix, his first Grand Prix win ever, after jumping the Ferraris of Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen from third on the grid on the first lap, which made him the 5th Finn to win a Grand Prix. In the end, he finished third overall in the Drivers' Championship with 305 points. Now, In 2018, Mercedes decided that they were going to sign Valtteri to yet another one-year contract. They had been open about deciding to keep their options open for the 2019 season, and Toto had hinted at keeping it open for the open drivers market just to see what kind of a role that would play in the team's thinking. Now, for Valtteri, 2018 was a bit of a rough start, especially in the Australian GP where he crashed out in Q3, was given a 5-place grid penalty for having to change his gearbox as a result of the crash that he suffered, which resulted in him starting 15th, was able to make it up to 8th place, benefiting from a virtual safety car as well as performing a few overtakes on the track where it is difficult to pass cars. Now, Bahrain let us see Valtteri Bottas bounce back with a P3 quali, a P2 finish ahead of Lewis in the race. China saw him out-qualifying Lewis for third and ending with yet another P2 finish. Ahead of the German GP, he signed a new contract for 2019 with an option to return in 2020, which was his first contract with Mercedes that was more than just 1 year. At the end of the season, Valtteri became the first Mercedes driver to finish a season without a win since Michael Schumacher in 2012, and with 7 second-place finishes, he also set a new record for the most second-place finishes without taking a win in a season. He finished 5th overall in the Drivers' Championship with 247 points. Now, 2019 Australian GP started the season with a bang for Valtteri. He qualified second fastest behind Lewis, and when race day came, he overtook Lewis in turn 1, and he held that position the entire race. He recorded the fastest lap of the race, which let him gain that extra fastest lap point. He carried on to win by over 20 seconds to his nearest rival, who was his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Bahrain, we see yet another Lewis and Valtteri 1-2 finish. In China, which was this year, it was the 1,000th race for F1, and he took pole position for the first time since Russia in 2018. Now, Lewis did jump him at the start of the race and stayed there for the entire race to win, which caused Valtteri to finish second to give Mercedes their third 1-2 in a row for 2019. Azerbaijan rolled around, he took his second consecutive pole position, securing a front row lockout alongside his teammate Lewis, and was able to convert his position on the grid into a 5th race victory of his career and his second for 2019. Lewis finished second, which made it Mercedes' 4th consecutive 1-2 finish of the season. When Spain rolled around, he took yet another pole position, securing yet another front row lockout with Lewis. Went on to finish second behind Lewis, making it the team's 5th 1-2 in a row. 2019 was just peak Mercedes domination, honestly. And Valtteri finished the season in second place in the championship with 326 points. It was the most successful season for his career to date, and he recorded 4 wins, 15 podium finishes, 5 pole positions, and 3 fastest laps.
I'm just going to guess that Valtteri's amazing preseason test was from signing that 1-year extension with Mercedes for the 2020 season. Because, I mean, he set the fastest time there. He wanted to remind people why he got that extension. While he was doing well on the track right away, he took pole position in the first race of the delayed 2020 season. Off track, he and Mercedes got in a little bit of trouble. He and the team were under investigation for Valtteri possibly breaking COVID protocols after going back to Monaco following the Austrian GP. The FIA was going to send them a warning letter, but it was proven that Bottas didn't break protocol. Unlike Leclerc, who was also under investigation, but there were proof in photos that he clearly broke that protocol. So they did get that letter. Bottas actually was ahead of Lewis in the Drivers' Championship until the Hungarian GP, where he qualified second, but after a false start, he lost 4 places at the first corner. He is amazing and recovered to take 3rd place, but Lewis took the lead in the championship because of the result. Honestly, Bottas was pretty consistently qualifying up in the top 3, mostly P2, and for the most part stayed in the top 3, or top 5 at the least by the end of the race, except for a few races. The British, the Eiffel, the Turkish, the Bahrain, and the Sakir GPs. To me, the roughest loss are the Turkish and the Sakir GPs. In Turkey, they had a wet quali, which already was a struggle. The rain didn't clear up for the race. After contact with Ocon, he had a front wing damage and spun 6 times before he could even get back to the race. He ended that race in 14th place, a whole lap behind his teammate Hamilton. Sakir was eventful. Hamilton couldn't race, so George was called up to replace him that weekend. You would think that would mean it would be pretty easy sailing for Valtteri, but no. Bottas did qualify pole, but at turn 1 of that race, he was passed by Russell. Now, there was some safety car action, and really it looked like Russell was going to take the win, but George was given Valtteri's tires during the safety car, which was lap 62 of 87. So they had to pit him again to fix the issue. But that issue gave Bottas a long pit stop, almost a half-minute stop, where he didn't even have a tire change. And because he wasn't on fresh tires, he was honestly screwed and went from 4th to 8th by the end of that GP. That year, he finished in 2nd for that championship with 223 points. So really, you still were in 2nd, but it just wasn't his best. He got another extension to stay with Mercedes for one more year in 2021. Though it wasn't the easiest year on the track, he did finish in 3rd for the championship, where he only had 1 win but 11 podiums. He ended up with 226 points. But honestly, I don't think I want to talk about all the races that year because Bottas had an amazing interview with Beyond the Grid and reflected on his time with Mercedes. So I wanted to give you just a couple highlights from that instead, because if you don't know already, 2021 was his final year with Mercedes. He said he was proud of all his contributions to the team. They achieved 4 Constructors' Championships, and at the time of the interview, they were hoping for that 5th championship. I know, Mercedes fans, I know. We're not even going to dwell on it for now. Valtteri reminded everyone in that interview that it takes both teammates to get those Constructor Championships. He said, "For me, it's hard to name a better team. I can look in the mirror. I tried. I gave it my all." I love the little reminders of how much Bottas appreciates Lewis and vice versa, because it's hard sometimes when teammates get pitted against each other, whether it's the strategists or DTS storylines. Bottas mentioned how Toto thinks pressure is good for him, which he does agree, but only for a certain amount of time because, like Valtteri said, 9 years of pressure back to back really does eat you from the inside out, which that ends his Mercedes time, and Amy's going to tell us about his new venture.
So, September 6th, 2021, it's announced that Valtteri has signed a multi-year deal with Alfa Romeo, which is his first true multi-year contract that he's ever had in Formula One, which I think is long overdue. In Bahrain, he achieved a 6th place finish, even after a poor start. Saudi Arabia, he had to retire his car on lap 46 due to cooling issues. And at the 2022 Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, he set a target to finish top 5. In qualifying, he suffered from reliability issues, managing to qualify 8th in really tricky conditions. During the sprint and the race, he made up multiple positions to finish 5th, but with a poor pit stop of over 10 seconds costing him a chance to fight Russell for 4th place. The rest of his season consisted of a P7 in Miami, P6 in Spain, with some questionable strategy calls that impacted that finish, P9 in Monaco, P7 in Canada due to a loss of getting a penalty, a DNF in Silverstone, and P11 at Australia with no points in the eight races that followed, including 3 consecutive DNFs in Hungary, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Overall, his first year at Alfa Romeo was full of ups and downs. In the end, he did finish 10th overall in the Drivers' Championship with 49 points. Now, 2023, we see Valtteri back with Zhou Guanyu again at Alfa, and he started the season opener in Bahrain by qualifying 12th. Would go on to finish the race in 8th. So far, this season has been rough for him with a P18 in Saudi, P11 in Australia, P18 in Azerbaijan, P13 in Miami, P11 in Monaco, P19 in Spain, a P10 in Canada, P15 in Austria, P12 at the British Grand Prix. Now, I think everybody can agree with me that the best thing that has come out of 2023 for Valtteri Bottas is most definitely the mullet and the oh-so-amazing helmets that have been designed by his amazing girlfriend, road and gravel cyclist Tiffany Cromwell. As for Alfa Romeo's future on the grid, it does appear that there's a new partnership on the horizon in the F1 world. Alfa does seem to be leaning towards a partnership with Haas F1 team, which was hinted to by Haas team boss Gunther Steiner. Sauber, however, isn't planning to leave anytime soon. They have their sights set on morphing into Audi's work team in 2026 when the VW brand joins the grid. Now, while I was going down the Valtteri Bottas rabbit hole, I found out that this man has been involved in quite a few different types of rally racing. And I am somebody who really finds rally racing super interesting. It's just a little bit more spicy and less predictable than most single-seater racing. He took part in the Arctic Rally in 2019, which is an annual rally competition held on ice and snow covered roads in Lapland. It's been organized continuously since 1966, and he recorded a stage win and finished 5th overall in the race. In 2019, we saw him win the Paul Ricard Rally Circuit Côte d'Azur. 2020, again, he participated in the Arctic Lapland Rally, where he drove a Citroën DS3 WRC car and finished 9th. He later took part in an Extreme E test in October of 2020 alongside Jean-Eric Vernage and Sebastian Loeb. Now in January of 2021, he competed in his 3rd Arctic Lapland Rally, and he scored a class podium and finished 6th overall. Now, some people may have heard of the Race of Champions, and Valtteri Bottas was set to make his Race of Champions debut in 2020 by partnering with two-time Formula One champion and fellow Finn, Mika Häkkinen. Sadly, he had to drop out from the event last minute, and so instead of racing in 2022, he is set to race in 2023 alongside Mika. There is really nothing that this man cannot do.
And let me tell y'all something. I have a new addiction, and that's finding out how much cycling time and the distance Valtteri has logged a month. This man is a cycling king, guys. I mean, he is over here cycling in Monaco today and logged a little over 17-mile ride in just over an hour, where he was at an elevation of 1,345 feet. He did a lunch ride the other day and rode 64 miles with a logged elevation of 6,024 feet. And he did that ride in under 4 hours. But also, any cyclists out there, I have to say, your app that I found is pretty cool. It may just be my landscape photography love and soul, but like seeing the photos that you take of your view of your ride just made me happy. But back to Valtteri. This season, when the Imola GP was canceled, he took that as his opportunity to fly out to Scotland and compete in a UCI Gravel World Series race alongside his partner, who is a pro bike racer, Tiffany Cromwell. Now, it may not sound like an impressive day, but because we're so used to 20 other racers, Valtteri finished that race in 114th place out of 800 riders. Bottas is even a brand ambassador for Canyon, a bicycle company out of Germany. He, with the help of Tiffany, designed a bike inspired by himself. So it had like ice hockey skates and all these other like little Finland things, F1, the whole shebang. It was cute. If you think this cycling life came out of nowhere for him, you're wrong. Valtteri got into it back in 2013 when he went for a bike ride around Monaco with some other F1 drivers. He didn't do the best that day, and he never wanted that to happen again because they're also freaking competitive. Cut to now, that ride is the easiest thing for him to do. Valtteri even started a new race and experience this past year in Finland. It's called Finland Gravel, FNLD-GRVL, which honestly took me way longer than I am proud to say to figure out the name. My brain just did not want to comprehend it. Anyway, the event is 3 course distances with a 20k euro prize purse and 1,000 riders from around the world. The next race is in June 2024. So if you want to get more info, you can go to finlandgravel.com, which is FNLDGRVL.com.
Yeah, and this man has a love for coffee. If you did not know, he is known for his coffee consumption. He typically always starts his day with a cup of coffee, never without. So he co-owns a coffee roastery business called, and I'm going to butcher this name, so apologize in advance, Kauai Coffee Roasters in Lahti, Finland. At this place, it has specialty coffee. Kauai runs its own cafe with a great selection of natural wines and tapas. So if you ever in Finland, go check it out. I saw some pictures of the place, and it's actually really cute and quaint, and seems like I need to book a trip to Finland. So who's with me? In 2017, Bottas launched the Valtteri Bottas Dualathon, an annual sporting event held in Finland. Bottas uses the Valtteri Bottas Dualathon to raise money for charities and various good causes. So I have their website up. It's pretty cool if you've never been there. So the next race is actually coming up on August 6th in 2023, and you can register for it now if you love doing that stuff. And I'm going to read this quote unquote from what he says. Valtteri Bottas Dualathon does good and donates monies to charity. Each year, at least 10,000 euros, together with charity partner, have donated to various sites around Europe. Primarily projects promoting sports or projects in the vicinity of Nastala are selected as donations. He also has a environmental responsibility impact that he does. So he also wants to do good for the environment. And that is why the Dualathon got created. Has a 1-minute time penalty for those who throw trash into nature. In addition, in 2019, together with the Lost and Anaji, we reduced the carbon fiber footprint at the event by 8,500 kg, and the emission rights were required to the CO2 SOI, which is, if you ever know anything about science or physics or how that all works, let's just say that's very good. And then just to round out the Dualathon, I did want to read you this quote, and it is a little long, so bear with me, but this is just who he is and kind of sums up the love of his cycling, the Dualathon, and his responsibility for wanting to do good. Where I come from has always meant a lot to me. Nostalgia provides excellent opportunities for sports, and the location is excellent. I am happy to show where I'm from and appreciate my roots. For a couple years now, I've been thinking about a sport event of my own. My own way of life is athletic, and I'm a big fan of sports. The event was chosen to be an off-road dualathon, and I definitely wanted it to take place in my hometown, Nastala. The aim is to create a nice event with a relaxed atmosphere, not forgetting a decent competitive spirit. It would be great if Formula One fans and people from Finland and abroad came to see where I'm from. The sport is such a great thing, and I hope that this race is too. We encourage people to exercise more, and the race will be a family event. I inspire to have families across the world enjoy the love of sports with me. And I find that so cute, and I love that. I love that that is who he is and just what he inspires the world to be. I know I drive everywhere, and it makes me wish that I lived in a small town to where I could bicycle just a tad bit more, because I don't have that opportunity. But I would go to Finland and bicycle, please. But he's also a very healthy enthusiast. So he also started his gluten-free pizza food truck called Gheezy Gheeze, which is cheesy cheese. And Bottas stated in a Twitter post that gluten-free pizza has typically lacked flavor and soul for as long as we've been eating it. In our opinion, it was time to make a change to this. GG was born with the goal of making crispy and fresh stone oven pizza on wheels for everyone to enjoy. And it is currently still being developed, and it has not hit the road yet. So if you're in Finland, maybe you'll see it.
Now, I'm probably one of the bigger Valtteri Bottas fans of the PGP girls, to my understanding. Y'all can tell me if I'm crazy. But I love that this man has something that is called the Valtteri Bottas Experience. So you can go to ValtteriBottasExperience.com and you can sign up for a few different experiences for your family. You have the Grand Prix edition, you have the Arctic edition, and you have a newer one, which is called Oath Lounge, which is based off of his new gin brand, Oath Gin. So the Arctic edition, it's a 4-day experience. You get familiar with the Arctic wilderness and its attractions. There's snowmobile safaris through 3 national borders of Finland to the highest point to show the full beauty of the Arctic world. And you'll have a chance to see reindeer in their natural environment, enjoy amazing Arctic flavors from local and fresh ingredients. And there's an option to visit the Arctic Ocean. The Grand Prix edition is exactly what you think it is. It is 3 days of a Grand Prix weekend in terms of action and introduction to the hosting country's culture and atmosphere. You'll get to spectate the Grand Prix from seats of your choice, explore local attractions, and taste the flavors of local delicacies. He does have a personal hospitality team who would take care of you through the entire weekend, which I think is fantastic. And then the newest one to his list is Oath Lounge. Oath Lounge is based off of the brand of Oath Gin. The lounge provides exclusive access to a majority of events of your choice. Inside the lounge, you'll experience the high-quality hospitality, including food, beverages, and cocktails made from Oath Gin. All services around the Oath Gin are tailored and suited to your personal choices, which I think is fantastic. I really am waiting for him to make his gin brand available in the US because I want to get my hands on it just to try it. And I'm not even a gin fan, but I just want to give him support because I think he's fantastic.
I will say, when you mentioned the Valtteri Bottas F1 experience thing that he does, like, I saw that on his Instagram when he posted a story about it, and I looked into it, and you have to sign up to get more details, and they only offer it at certain GPs, not every one, but I know it's super expensive probably. But if you're gonna do an experience like an F1 experience or like a Ferrari experience, why not do the Valtteri Bottas experience? And then you get a little taste of the delicacies from the culture plus a GP race. I think that's a win-win if you want to see the culture and the area plus a GP. Just saying.
You are not wrong, Han. I think it's definitely really interesting experience package option. I would love to compare it to like what you can do with it if you did experience like this with a specific team. I think he probably makes it much more himself in terms of just the whole feel and vibe. It does also seem like his girlfriend Tiffany is pretty involved in the experience portion as well. So, I mean, I'm not going to pass up a chance to get to possibly hang out with Tiffany. She seems fucking awesome. But I think he does it a little different than the teams do. And I think that is what makes it so special.
Exactly. And it was actually yesterday that I was on TikTok and I scrolled and saw a lady who said that she's trying out every paddock experience, like Ferrari paddock, Williams paddock, and all that. So I got a little curious and I went on the websites. And now that I know the relative price, I now want to put in some information with Valtteri's experience and be like, let's do some comparison. Because if you're going to spend that much money, why not? Why not spend just a tad bit more to get a little bit more? Or why not test them all out? I don't know if I have that much money, but if I did, sign me up.
I mean, I'm all for manifesting for the PGP girls. So I will get to manifesting that we all get all of the fun Grand Prix experiences for next season because we deserve them. But that's just me. So I got you guys covered.
No, you start that manifesting. It's summer break. It's about to be summer break. You manifest through that break.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, if any of our active listeners are out there, I want to go to Las Vegas. GP, please.
Vegas.
Same. So after all the gin and pizza talk, which also looking forward to that gluten-free pizza, the pre-outro for this episode is the moment of the weekend, and it is this man's Instagram. There was a huge change from 2021 to 2022 on his content. It went from like doom and gloom, black and white always, to where he got a little unhinged, but also he used so much of a brighter filter, brighter colors, more sunsets, like living his best life. We hope that now translates to Alfa Romeo and his placements on the grid. So looking forward to the rest of the year.
I love doing these drivers spotlights so much, really getting to learn more about drivers through the years and maybe finding out some things you never knew, like Bottas having a gluten-free pizza truck. What? Who are some other drivers outside of the current F1 grid you would like to see spotlights from? Let us know on our socials. Everywhere we are at Paddock Girls Podcast, except Twitter. There you can find us at Paddock Girls Pod. Thanks for joining us in the paddock today. We'll see you next time. Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.